I live in California, about 30 minutes south of San Francisco. So I do trade the hours on the Pacific time zone. 8 months doesn't sound like a long time, but I think I've really come a long way. Expect like frustration as part of the deal, and you learn to work with it. And then over time, you just get less. The market doesn't get to you. Deep practice is really chunking. The concept of chunking into take a big problem and chunk it into small pieces. At the beginning, I was trying to tackle everything, like trying to get everything like figure it out, right? As quickly as possible. But it's kind of actually counterproductive. It's very rewarding to see and feel my growth, and it's almost like light bulbs going off, right? I think it's not about how many patterns that you discover, but it just how ready you are. The good pattern is the one it's just so obvious, like I would call it no-brainers. You're so passionate about that to the point that you really don't care how it turns out. Passionate and 100% committed to take the trade, and at the same time completely indifferent to the outcome. You can't solve the puzzle by trying to do 100 pieces at the same time. When you feel confused, you should get out, right? Exactly. It totally resonates. But the calm piece, I think, is also it kind of comes naturally as I develop and grow. And then once I had the confidence, the clarity, if you don't set boundaries and define your own game, then you literally, it's kind of you become the slave.
Yeah,
you become the slave to the market, right? And then because it's always there, I'll turn on my computer when I'm ready to. The market's there when I'm ready, right? It's a complete turnaround of the relationship, right? Between me and the market. It's there for me as a trader. My job is to be ready, right? Mentally, psychologically, and then and from process standpoint, just be ready to trade. And there's plenty of opportunities. I thought I could do it on day 2 of the workshop and take your system and run with it in the live market. Building the brain capacity to recognize the patterns, you have a visual pattern, right? And so the brain needs to kind of rewire itself to recognize
it's like
them.
A muscle. Hello, Ray. Thank you for coming to this trader chat.
Hi, Gabriel.
Hi, Ray. I've invited you because you are, from all of my students, you're my role model for successful trader development. Or you basically went off like a rocket as you started, as everybody else from a similar level. So now you live on the West Coast in California, and your background to trading is that you had some experience with trading stocks and ETFs, right? Till 2008, when the great financial crisis hit the markets, and then I think you got shied away from the markets, right? And we met during my workshop. It's about 8 months ago, and this is I think when you restarted to look at the markets and started to trade, right?
Thank you for the introduction. I think you're too kind in your words. I definitely made a lot of progress. I can feel it myself. I've made a lot of progress in my trader development, and to a large part thanks to your guidance through the workshop and all the subsequent support that I've received. Just by way of introduction, I live in California, about 30 minutes south of San Francisco. So I do trade the hours on the Pacific time zone. So like you said, my first stand in trading was right before the great financial crisis. Right, not a good timing to start, obviously. Okay. In hindsight, that's probably not the best time to start. I traded options first. That's options was my first ever trade. Was not in stocks or ETFs. Was actually option trade. But you can imagine the outcome, right, of a novice trader trading long options right before the GFC. So it was not a pleasant experience, to say the least, right? It was really actually painful emotionally. So and psychologically, right, I did a lot of psychological damage. So I just I didn't touch the market for 10 years, right? Kind of set out the entire bull market.
Okay. And then you heard about Van Tharp and you decided to join my workshop, right? 8 months
Yeah,
ago?
I've got to know your workshops through the Van Darp Institute. Yeah, I
Mhm.
did some programs there. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you think back now, like 8 months back when you came to the workshop, how do you experience your trader growth since then?
Yeah, oh, it sounds, 8 months doesn't sound like a long time, but I think I've really come a long way in terms of like how differently my behavior and my psychology is when it comes to trading. If I look back in terms of kind of this short journey, um, I think there's a lot of great insights that I've discovered, right? In terms of how to grow as a trader. And the first thing is right is really more about learning itself. Learning to trade is a very much a iterative process, right? It's not linear, right? Sometimes I tend to think like kind of linear fashion, right? But in learning to trade, it's really like not from A to Z straight line, right? There's a lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
Just a kind of iterative process. I think it's not only normal, but it's kind of necessary
Yeah.
to kind of build a foundation, like rebuild it, and over time, and it just from kind of setting expectations standpoint for anyone who's picking up a new system, I think just be setting the expectation that don't expect a straight line, right?
I always talk
You're back
about
and
like
forth.
as a trader, you make like 3 steps forward and then you make 2 steps back. And this obviously
Exactly.
can create some frustration, which is very normal in trading. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
linear stair-step line. No, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then, but once your psychology prepare for that, then you can manage the frustration. And you always say like trading is frustration management. Is definitely the case for me, right? You just learn to expect like frustration as part of the deal, and you learn to work with it. And then over time, you just get less. The market doesn't get to you as much, right? As before. So in addition, I think the another important piece I feel like is as part of I think you talk about the concept of deep learning, right? Deep practice. The book like Talent Code you recommended us to read. For me, right, one of the component of deep practice is really chunking. The concept of chunking into take a big problem and chunk it into small pieces. For me, that was also very helpful. And not to you taught us 3 systems, right? And if you think about 3 system and the long side and the short side, there's many moving pieces. So like I think at the beginning I was trying to tackle everything, like trying to get everything like figure it out, right? As quickly as possible. But it's kind of actually counterproductive. It's much better to kind of bite off like a small piece and work on it and just chunk. The concept of chunking, I think, was really helpful. It's actually actually make the process faster if you take them into like smaller pieces.
Yeah. For me, the markets or learning to trade any system is trading is kind of a multi-dimensional puzzle. And if you think it's a good idea to jump on and master it, I don't know, immediately, or you master it over time to handle a multi-dimensional puzzle, well, you will fail, right? So the only and the most effective way is to chunk it down, as you said, and then learn bit by bit and integrate those bits and chunks that you have learned, right? And we went through this process through deep practice.
Yeah, and then good point on the integration, right? You learn each pieces and kind of master it, and then you have the process of kind of putting them all together, kind of like a puzzle, right? Yeah, you can't solve the puzzle like by trying to do 100 pieces at the same time. Yeah,
if you think back like 8 months ago, what do you think? In what areas did you grow in your trader development?
I think the most important one that comes to mind is probably from a psychology and mental state standpoint. If I could give you kind of a before and after scenario, how I traded before, and actually, it's also important to keep in mind about your personality. I think like everybody has a different personality and temperament. Your learning style is different. Like for me, I'm kind of very much a type A person, very results oriented. So in a way, like it hinders my trader development, and it's actually the obstacle that I need to overcome as a trader, right? Because I had then, as you can imagine, I had a tendency to overtrade, right? To try to achieve something, right? I need to have achievement, right? And then
so
kind of
8 months 8 months ago, if you would describe your mental state, so what would it be? So you would be overactive, right? What else?
Yeah.
What else?
FOMO, like the fear of missing out, is a big piece. Like felt compelled that I need to catch every single move, right? Of course, it's impossible. It's not impossible, but it's not necessary either. Right now, I learned, right? But before, it was just there's a lot of FOMO, and confusion. That's the other piece. At the beginning, when I first learned the system, I thought it seemed very simple and easy to implement. But in reality, there are many pieces I need to figure out. So I think in just the process of learning to apply the system in real life, in the live market, I wasn't there obviously 8 months ago, so there was a lot of confusion about is the setup good enough to take, right? Is it is the criteria, just the evaluation on
yes. So your confidence, you're on a much different level of confidence now, right?
Yeah, there was not so much confidence.
Yeah.
There was a lot of confusion back then. But
how
now
would you describe your mental state now as you're trading the markets?
Yeah, as we were just saying, talking about confidence, that's first and foremost, right? There's definitely improved a lot more confidence and in evaluating a setup, right? Some of the things that I just noticed, it's kind of very clear, and then clarity. That's another piece. There's a lot more mental clarity I don't get confused.
That's one of the most important things in trading. Getting confused.
I can feel and sense the clarity, and even with everything that's moving, right, and across the different contracts and instruments. So they just, I think clarity is so important. I think someone said like when you feel confused, you should get out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It totally resonates. But I had a lot of confusion before. Now it's, I would say most of the time I'm pretty clear that as to what I'm supposed to do. Yeah. How should I trade? Should I not trade? How do I take advantage of it or stay away? So.
And one of your emails, couple of 2-3 weeks ago, you wrote me, I really like that. Like you described your mental state now as being cool, calm, and confident. And that I've written that down. It's really a great description of a really good trader mental state.
Yeah, it was exactly opposite 8 months ago, obviously. Yeah, the calm piece, I think, is also it kind of comes naturally as I develop and grow. And then once I had the confidence, the clarity, I'm just trading much more calmly. There's no, I don't revenge trade, probably like never. I don't think I've ever revenge traded since I started using the live market.
And a couple of months back, you wrote me that like when we started to trade the live markets, which is a 24-hour market, right? You wrote me that you woke up in the middle of the night and you were worried, right? How your position went. So that's the exact opposite of being in a calm state, right? So how do you approach this 24-hour market now from a mental state?
Yeah, I think just kind of approaching the live market, definitely at the beginning it was a lot to figure out, right? A lot of things to figure out, and as you always say, like you got to design your own trade, like put together your own trading game, right? That was the great concept that I get to actually implement. Is as you said at the beginning, right? Given that I had the FOMO going on, right, trying to like take every trade or like catch every move, then obviously it's really like not the captain of my ship, right? You also use that analogy, be the captain of your ship. It was just the kind of like market is turning me around, right, all the time, right? I
Right.
felt like
So
I compelled, I need to check the market, but
okay. So yeah. So think about this 24-hour market. In the beginning, it intimidating for you because it was a 24-hour market. And it's
yeah,
kind of out of your control, right? If you have to sleep at
hmm
night, the market is moving.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then if you don't set boundaries and define your own game, then you literally, it's kind of
You're
you become the
consumed.
slave.
Yeah. You're
You
getting
become the
consumed by
slave
the market.
to the
Yeah.
market, right? And then because it's always there. Yeah, I literally was like one time I actually woke up in the middle of the night, like at midnight or something, and heard an alarm going off or something, alert triggered. So it's not a good place to be.
Yeah. Well, it's a
Yeah.
typical thing from students that they tell me, I just woke up this morning. I'm starting to trade. I woke up and I saw a pattern in the middle of the night when I
Yeah.
was sleeping, and I really feel bad about it because I missed it. So how do you think now
Yeah.
about such a situation?
No, yeah, I totally went through that as well. And I remember especially like being on the West Coast, right? Like, the stock market actually opens at 6:30 my time, right? So I felt like disadvantaged, right, at the beginning, thinking, well, all the good ones, all the good trades has already happened pre-market. I never catch the pre-market good moves. But now it doesn't bother me at all. I will choose, I will, like, how do I say it? Like, it's almost like even I'll turn on my computer like when I'm ready to, like the market's there when I'm ready, right? It's the market it's a complete turnaround of the relationship, right? Between me
Exactly.
and the market. It's like it's there for me.
Yeah.
When I'm ready to trade, it's there. It will be there, right?
Exactly. Yeah. That's the
So
difference
yeah, it's
between the
completely
market.
different.
That's the difference between the market chases the trader and confuses, stresses, and overwhelms him, or if the trader is the captain of his trading, right? So the
Mm-hmm.
market is actually irrelevant, right? It's about you being the captain and
Mm-hmm.
your trading, and the market just comes and goes. It's a
Yeah.
completely different, point of view and mental state, right?
Yeah, and then I think it's a great state to be in. I think a lot of people probably are attracted to trading just because of the freedom and the flexibility it offers, right?
Yeah.
So I sometimes, and then now I think, well, it's just, you know, it's not like in normal situation, you can't just walk into a job, like a company and say, hey, I want to work for 2 hours here, right? And then they do, okay, I'm gone, right? I'm done.
Mm.
But if you think about like not being the slave to the market, but being in control, then it's always there.
Yeah.
And you just like, as a trader, like my job is to be ready, right? Like mentally, psychologically, and then and from process standpoint, just be ready to trade. And there's plenty of opportunities.
Mm.
I think one of your surfer students talk about oceans and waves. That was a
Yeah.
good analogy for me. Is I sometimes just remind myself the market is like an ocean. It never runs out of waves, right? It will always be another one. If you miss one, that's fine. There's
Yeah.
plenty of opportunity
Yeah.
to go around.
Okay. So what was your view on the market like 8 months ago? You told me once that for you the market was kind of to get excitement, right? And other things. So
Mm,
how did you view the market?
mm, right. I think I was originally attracted to trading for the excitement, right? It's just a kind of adrenaline, right? I can be an adrenaline junkie
Mhm.
sometimes, right? It's just always moving, it's always changing. That just you know, I find it fascinating. Um, so that also explains the tendency to overtrade. And now I actually think the market is, I view one of my analogy is that the market is my teacher, right? It's almost like spiritual teacher, if you will. It teaches humility and
Mhm.
patience,
Can you remember a
you know,
situation when you were
discipline.
taught humility by the market? Can you remember something?
Oh, a lot. I remember at the very beginning, like I started trading your system in the live market. The ones there is there I had a winning streak, right? And then immediately the thought is, oh, I am invincible. But then of course I think the market is eavesdropping on my inner conversation, and right
Yeah.
away, right,
Well, yeah,
you will
the
prove to me
moment you
you're
think
not.
it, the moment you think
Yeah,
it, the losing
yeah,
streak comes in. I mean, that's for everybody the
exactly.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I will tell you, you're not invincible. It was just literally, I put on another trade and then there
Yeah.
you go. So I think it's a good teacher, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
And then patience too. I'm not known for my patience. I'm not a very patient person. I tend to do things fast. I'm probably talking fast right now. But I think patience is very important, and then it's acquired. It can be acquired. It's an acquired trait. You can acquire that.
What about the ability of
your
letting
development.
go?
Oh, I think I think you can think of, like, for me, letting go, I interpret it from two different dimensions. One is for if like the unlucky stop out come to mind. That's the first thing, because sometimes you have a stop out and it runs without you, right? So you just have to let go, and I think the belief that there's plenty of opportunity definitely helps with that, right? If you have a scarcity mindset, right, then you think there's limited number of opportunities and patterns, then it's hard to let go of a trade that didn't work out. And so that's one aspect. The other aspect, I think, is really kind of from letting go from an ego standpoint, right? The need to be right, like the need to have winning trades all the time. It's kind of impossible, right? At least not likely, right? Not very likely. So be at peace with yourself, and just focus on the process. Be disciplined and follow your trading plan, follow your rules, and then the outcome will take care of itself. And so don't be not to be judgmental about, like, don't equate your personal self-worth or something with the individual trade outcome. So that's the other piece of letting go.
This is the state of acceptance. Like whatever happens, like good things or bad things, you don't get euphoric or you don't get depressed with bad things. You're just in a zero state level, basically, right? And a good level.
Yeah.
Without these big up and down swings. So excitement is not necessary, right? Because if there's excitement, well, the other side comes in too, right? Which is, I don't know, frustration and fear. It's better to be on a good level, right? And as you said, cool, calm, and confident.
Yeah.
I really like this description.
It's really a good state to be in. It's just you're very factually processing the things, and emotion don't get involved, right, that much. And then it's quite amazing actually, compared to how excited I was in trading before, and now even in crypto, I do trade crypto. It's actually it's hard for me to get really excited or quite emotional even when trading crypto. You just take it as more matter factually.
I remember
what happens is.
I remember during the workshop, like you showed, or you sent me via email, you sent me charts from stocks, and you asked me whether I perceived that as a good trading opportunity. So I could see your excitement and passion coming through there. Right?
Yeah, but I try to do, I thought, or I could do it on day 2 of the workshop and take your system and run with it in the live market. But it's a long process, but it's worth it. Yeah.
So before trading the live market, I've got a strong belief that students who go through the workshop and they learn basically the theory, right? Well, we do some simulations in the workshop, but what you get taught is the theory of the systems. And then once the workshop is over, or you should not, well, I say that students should not jump into the live markets. They should actually simulate for at least a month and take like a 50 to 80 trades per system to really understand it. And we went through such a simulation exercise in a group setting. What was your experience simulating the systems? What did you learn?
Yeah, sure. Interestingly, I didn't even know about simulators until I think your workshop. That's the first time I heard of the concept of simulator and saw what a simulator does. Like Forex tester, I didn't even know anything about it until the workshop. But after the 1 month of practice, I definitely share your belief that it's amazing. And I remember you said it's an amazing tool. Like years ago when it didn't exist, it would take the trader much longer time to become proficient, right? I could see why after I've used the simulator myself. I think it definitely accelerates your trading skills. And your pattern is also like from multiple perspectives. One is just kind of it's like mentally rehearsing and building the brain capacity to recognize the patterns. You have a visual pattern, right? And so the brain needs to kind of rewire itself to recognize
it's like a
them.
muscle. Pattern recognition is like a muscle. You have to train it and learn it and build it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just that then over time it becomes muscle memory. I think the simulator does exactly that, like help to build your muscles. And then the other piece is also like just flawless execution is critical to implementing any system successfully. I think the simulator greatly help you to build that skill. And like, because one of the things that was interesting is when I first started to use a simulator, I even got like emotional excited, right? So I couldn't even believe it. It was just it's a simulator. It's not even live market, but it pushes buttons and then you just kind of work through it. And over time, it's very different.
This is one of the other reasons. Like my approach in coaching students is going step by step. And traders shouldn't get hurt early on. Like if you go to the live market, I mean the system is completely. I mean your body system is completely overloaded. Right? You actually have to step back and cut out a lot of detail. In a simulated setting, it's basically like learning to swim in a pool, right? So the water is clear, there are no waves, and the depth is not deeper than you can stand. So that's basically a simulator, a safe and controlled environment. And what we apply, in my coaching, I base my coaching on the principles of deliberate practice or deep practice, which is the same thing. And the simulator is actually an ideal tool as well, like to train one chunk after another and repeat it, right? So the idea is to make mistakes, then you can go back and repeat it. You repeat it once more, and you will repeat it once more, and then it's completely learned and understood, right? And the simulator is a nice tool to actually do that. Repeat it, and obviously you can speed up time as well with the simulator.
Yeah, I think the simulator also really gave you, for me, it was really gave me a good feel of just learn more about the market dynamic. When you see all the time frame, like you trade multiple time frames, and you see how the different time frames move across time, like different, how the price action move across time, and across different time frames. That was really good learning as well.
But the simulator help you to better understand the rules or the systems.
Yeah, definitely. It's almost like a mental. The other piece about the simulation, I think, is it's almost like mental rehearsal, because I think I remember, there are some trades that you just ask us to please simulate and re-simulate it, especially when you make mistakes, right? And then you say, go back, simulate the trade and make the, don't make the mistake, right? Do the right thing, right, at this time, and then repeat it until it's kind of second nature. I think that's another critical point, right? Very useful.
And the simulation is well about like understanding or experiencing the quality continuum of the patterns, right? So some patterns fulfill the rules or they're high quality. Other patterns fulfill the rules as well, but they're low quality, right? And everything in between. The simulators as well, to give you lots of opportunities to look at, to evaluate, to spot, and be able to understand, okay, why is this average quality and why is this high quality, etc.
Yeah. And then it's really accelerated. You can save a lot of time. You said you save years, right?
Yeah.
And
one of my students said that the simulator is a turbocharger, so it really it goes fast.
Yeah, exactly.
So we did that for 1 month basically, and that was in a simulation mode. So next was to approach the live market, right? And I recommend to not approach the live market with a real money account, but to start with a demo account. I would like to know from you, like, how difficult do you think was it to go from a simulation environment to analyzing like the same patterns, right, in the live market?
Yeah, it was not easy. Definitely, there are so many different Like I think, two pieces. One is externally, right? There's so many other like compounding variables, right? Different factors that were not in play during the simulation environment, that will come up in live market. The simulate, in a way, simulation is the simulator is almost like kind of simulating a vacuum, right? That's precisely your point, right? You want to chunk it up so that you're doing one piece at a time. But when I switch to live market, it's all of a sudden all the unexpected factors, right? Like the factors that I think, not to say totally unexpected, but not experienced in simulation mode. For example, now there's news, right? You're hearing people's commentary, right? You're seeing news about things, and it will create confusion, right? It create conflicts in beliefs, and you're seeing the pattern. Like in simulator, I'm just watching the price action, right? Just pure and simple, right? It's in the purest form. But in the live market, there's many other things, right? That could influence my judgments and kind of cloud my judgment, and create confusion. So that's one.
You mentioned before that when you started to do the simulation exercise, so it's a simulator, you were kind of, your buttons were pushed, right? And that's basically a psychological stress response. Like everybody has that, right? Because you see moving charts, right? And it feels as if live. Now the idea is, well, I'm sure you can, that's what people say usually after the bootcamp, is that they feel really confident simulating, right? After getting used to it. And now the next step is, well, approaching the live markets, and the same thing happens again, right? There's a psychological stress response. Well, now you're looking at the live markets, and there are a lot more moving parts. And again, right, you get a little bit stressed, and you have to deal with that, right? Wasn't it like that? Very similar?
Of course, definitely. First of all, like if you had FOMO, right, before, then FOMO will be even worse. In live market, you can't rewind, right? You can't say, oh, let me go back. It's what's gone, it's gone. You can't turn back time, right?
But you dealt with FOMO in the simulator, right? Your FOMO was well under control simulating, right? At the end.
But now you add another piece.
And then as you approach the live market, then the old thing comes up again, right? Because you're kind of stressed.
Right? So, I think, I thought I was over FOMO, but now it's new factors, right? It's, you can't turn back time. So, and so definitely that. And then, let me see, the other thing, I think another thing in live market, for example, like my scanning process, right? I have to figure out how to build my own scanning process, the live market with all the different, equities, metals, and, different time frame. So simulation, usually you're working on one at a time, right? So it's definitely like a lot more complex. You have to build your own process, and when in a simulation, as an example, it's so easy. I'm gonna simulate for an hour at this time. You just show up, right? You just do it. But in live market, you have to kind of carve out the schedule and figure out what works best for you. And it takes like some experiment. I had to experiment with the schedule and make some changes, and eventually to figure out what works best. Right? It's like
learning to flawlessly execute the systems, and this is pretty easily done, quickly done in the simulation environment. It takes about a month, right? Now, like working on the live market, well, you have to build your live market process. This is what I understood actually working with you students, and it takes time, right? You don't build your live market process in a week. So what do you think? How long did it take you to put all the pieces together?
It took me, I think, like at least like just even, like even just the selecting the broker, the platform, right? For me, I always use Thinkorswim, and but then just like broker selection, and then the chart, and then the ordering process, order execution process. I have to try different brokers, and I even had to like even like computer and getting monitor and all the everything. Just even the logistics took some time. And then the next piece is really figure out what hour works best for me. Like how do I, what hour do I trade? And these things took another, I think probably good month, I would say, just to work out all the, the details.
So about
that I will feel comfortable.
It's about building your live trading process according to your personal trading game, right? You
exactly.
first need to become aware, okay, what is my game? Because every game is different. Once you know about that, well, then it's about, okay, let's put together the scanning process. There are a lot of small steps, right? Again, here it's like the alert setting process, the new scanning, and what you do if you've got multiple positions open. What you do here, how do you do that? How do you swing trade? How do you pyramid into a nice trend? All these things are small pieces, right? But that you can build one
but
up
it's
on
so
the other.
But even the smallest piece make a big difference. Like even just talking about simple things like a routine. What's your personal like trading routine, right? Because for me, as an example, I'm a morning person. Like I run, right? Usually I run, 3-4 miles every morning, right? I live in California, the weather's nice. I can do that all year long. But then I was conflicted about, if I run, I'm gonna miss the pre-market or the market open. So and I had to work those things out, right? I had a little bit of a FOMO. So I'm gonna miss this, but I really want to run. So sometimes, okay, I'm not gonna run. I'm just gonna trade. But then of course I'm not in a good state, right? It doesn't work. And then
Right,
so now eventually I work it out. I'll just go on my run and I'll be ready at whatever 7 or something. I'll start or something.
The morning trading preparation process is very important, right? If you skip it, you're not in a good state. It's like a sportsman who's preparing for a tournament, basically. And exactly. Okay.
Yeah, so all of the things have to be figured out, and then it takes time. I experiment different versions of, I think this may work, but and then I've made a lot of changes, and then eventually,
How important was the group setting for your trader development, like in simulation, but as well in developing your live market process?
Yeah, it was very helpful. It's actually like really crucial to have a group of, I think, right, a group of like-minded individuals to be like to have the support and kind of encouragement for each other. I think one of the things right off the bat is you understand that you're not alone, right? I think that's because psychology is such an important piece, right, in trading. So just in this group setting, like one thing right off the bat is you just feel like, oh, I made this mistake, right? Because I took a subpar quality trade, and then you realize, oh, you did that too. Okay, so then you don't beat yourself up, right? It's like, oh, okay, this is common, right? And oh, I had FOMO, you had that too. I think it just you see that.
What about learning from others' mistakes?
Yeah, definitely. That I actually have screenshot libraries where some of the mistakes, like mistake trades, I can review them so that I don't have to repeat the mistake. And yeah, that definitely also is helpful. And seeing some of the things and just kind of like make a mental notice for myself. Yeah. And as well as learning from others, like insights from others, that was also like aha moments. I still remember like one person who once made a comment about he think about the market is like bring him. I think he's a he has his own business, right? So he talk about the market bring him deals, right? Like all these deals, big deals, small deals, and then he can choose, right? So for me, and I'm saying, oh, that's a good analogy. That like that's a good insight. So again, it's about putting me in control, right? And it's not like I have to chase all these setups, but okay, it's a deal and market bring it to me and say, well, I reject this, or okay, I'll take this. So it just things like that, insights from others, definitely helpful.
Yeah. Right. So after the workshop, you did some simulation exercises. Then you traded the live markets with a demo account, and then you started to trade with a real money account, right? Well, now you are trading the live markets with a real money account. How did that go? Trading a real money account and putting money on the table, right?
Yeah, of course, that's just another layer, and then you just kind of experience some setback, right? Some of the things that didn't, like the emotions that were not at play before, even as $50 $100 at the stake, it triggers something emotionally. And you've always asked us to make sure you don't start with like huge money, like you start with really small stake. So I think that's very important to minimize the emotional impact on your trading. So that you kind of like, it's almost like a learning curve you have to climb up, and then you don't want to just like carry like a huge backpack at the beginning. You take small, like incremental, small.
You don't want
increments.
to hurt yourself, exactly, and you make small
Yeah.
steps. Yeah.
Yeah. Protect your psychology, as you would say, right? It's so important.
Yeah.
So start with, right off the bat, right? When I first started with real money, you just noticing that you mistakes, they'll start to make mistakes again. Exit too early or like chase or whatever. And then you work through them. Just as I did with all the other issues throughout the process. And then you just trade comfortably with your small position size and work on increase that position size over time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you had some really successful trades recently, right? Or a couple of months back.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, I had some, good trades in gold and silver. Literally in just the recent run up in gold and silver, I was fortunate to capitalize on both of them.
On what basis did you enter the market? On what basis?
For silver, it was a 4-hour S2 pattern. It's actually like digress a little bit about, S2 pattern was the pattern that I had the most difficulty in learning. Even during the bootcamp, I just couldn't get it. Right? It was
the most subtle pattern.
It's subtle and then intricate. Yeah, it's intricate. It's more complicated. And I myself am not a very visual person, so it was really difficult. I remember one time you had to literally hold up like a paper or something to show this. You get it, saucer. But yeah, I was just I couldn't get it. But now it's my favorite pattern. Right? Out of all the patterns I like S2 the most, and this in particular the silver trade was a 4-hour on a 4-hour chart in S2. Like I think.
When was that?
June, probably end of June.
End of June.
Or end of June, early July. Yeah,
it's about a month ago.
Okay. Yeah, about a month ago, a month and a half now. Yeah, so it was, I had so much conviction in that trade, right? Speaking of trader confidence, right? Over time, it just like a picture perfect S2, right? It was definitely a low risk idea, right? So, it's no regret trades, right? Okay. That's what I call no regret trades. I think I did some long calls. I used options. I trade options. So that was a long call. I probably got for from a little over less than $2 to about $9.
Okay. So $2 was the premium of the option, but your risk was even smaller, right? Than $2.
Exactly. Yeah. Less than maybe 50 cents or something. So I would say if I got stopped out
So you made a big arm multiple with this silver trade, huh? Trading options.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you, because I know, because that's what I recommend as well. But the reason why you trade options, I mean, you don't want to trade a futures on a 4-hour chart, right? Because your position size is too big, your risk is too big.
Yeah. So especially for silver.
Right.
Some contracts have the mini ones, but silver doesn't. But it's out of the question to trade it.
So there's a walk around in trading options, right? On the price of silver. So you're basically using the trade entry signal on the futures charts, right, of silver, and then you execute it with another trading vehicle, which is absolutely fine. And you're using options, call options that move up with the price of silver. And that allows you to trade a smaller position size, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So it's like a less, the option cost is like $200 or something. Right. And then the risk is even smaller. So that's completely okay within my position size limit and risk management rules.
So would you have been able to take this trade like a couple of months before?
No, of course. I would say no, right?
Why not?
Because I would say first I was, I like I said before, S2 is a pattern that I make the most mistake. I couldn't recognize it, or I always mistaken something, like the rules are not fulfilled, but so I had the most difficulty recognizing the pattern. So that's from an entry standpoint, right? And then I will also say that it's not just about the entry, right? The whole exit management is important. You know,
So you
actually,
swing traded this trade, right? You took it on a 4-hour chart and you had it for 1 month, right? Or was it 2 months? For 1
I
month,
had
I
it
think.
like to 1 month at least, and then and also I took a gold trade that's also on gold. It's the
So
same
what
thing.
time frame did you take this? What time frame?
For the gold one, gold was 1 hour.
On the 1 hour chart. In which system?
Yeah. Gold was S1.
An S1, okay. And you executed it with an option as well, right?
Yeah, it's an option on GLD. Yeah, this one I had a shorter time frame option, and then it was really good results. I think from about $3, the premium was to 22 or 21 ish. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
In
So
a month. Yeah.
That's more than 10 hours as well, right? Close
Yeah,
to
because
20 hours.
the risk is the 1 hour loss is not $3, right?
Yeah. Okay. And how did you do in letting, like in following the exit algorithm and letting the profits run?
Yeah. I think, like, to your question about if I were able to do it before, right? I think, it just I had so much issue about, like, letting the profit run, right? The golden rule in trading is cut the losses short, let the profit run. But yeah, I would doubt my ability to hold on the trade for so long. There was some kind of I'm pretty sure there was pullback or kind of corrections during the time. But to me, it was actually like both these trades were very easy, right? It's interesting to say that way. It's probably my best trade for the year so far, and it was very easy. It was just I just followed the rules, the exit rules, and I think I just did swing lows, right? And then it was just very clear cut. I didn't, I was like, even the maintenance of the positions was very low. I have alert on, right? I'm checking, like, I'm, I don't get bothered by checking how much money I made or something. So that's, I think, another lesson in terms of the good lessons learned is follow the price action, follow the patterns and the rules, and don't putting aside the probability.
It seems like you haven't gotten excited at all, right? Having these gold silver trades on.
Right, because I was thinking, looking back, right, it's kind of interesting. Because I had them for like more than a month, right? But I didn't even look at the profit, my P&L. Like, I think I'll probably check it for 2-3 times just to make sure everything is like proper, nothing weird going on. And then, like, only calculate how much money I made after, right? I closed out the trade. I was doing my trading journal entry and trading log, and said, oh, yeah, some decent money there, right? I didn't even know, like, I wasn't calculating in my head. So that's, I think if I were checking like the P&L all the time, it would definitely, like, if I see, for example, I see the price double or triple, it would probably mess up my head. So it wasn't. I just, I was just looking at the charts. Not if I ignore the P&L.
And then you told me, I think, that you get a pretty good exit as well, right?
Yeah, that was it was good judgment in terms of for example, my gold only have 2 weeks left in expiration, and it was a pretty big. I think the correction that we had right before the big correction, there was a pullback. I was like, wow, this is deeper than before, and then the bounce back was kind of weak. And the odds, right? It's like trading as an odds game. At that point, it's like, okay, the risk rewards is not so great. Time to exit.
Yeah. Well, I've experienced with you that during the last couple of weeks that you're developing, intuition, right? Intuition that really helps you in trading. Well, let's call it profitable trader intuition. It's not something that comes like the moment you start trading, right? This profitable intuition only comes once you have the experience, right? And then with a lot of experience, well, then you actually know, like, there's an inner knowing what you need to do, the right things to do, right?
Yeah. I was just, you took the word right out of my mind. I was just thinking I would call it inner knowing, right? It's interesting. It's, like you said, you can't kind of force it to happen quicker than it would. It's when it's there, you would just recognize it. The exit on the gold trade, as an example, it was a clear call from kind of inside to say, okay, time to get out. And then even before the big correction in gold and silver recently, I think like literally the day before, or and there were some like on the lower time frame, there were some good momentum moves, right? So like, but every time I was tempted to kind of check out a pattern or something, but literally there's this voice in my head that just says trap, right? So it's like, oh, okay. And it happened, literally every moment I have, oh, this is really good 1 minute chart, right? But then it just said trap. I just hear trap, but then I just stayed out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I can really feel how you're developing into a really great trader, right? As this intuition comes up. I mean, you have done all the work you had to do, right? First in the simulator, you just learn to flawlessly execute without applying intuition, right? And then in the Live Markets Pro, while you develop your own trading game and you start already going your individual direction. And now you're actually part of my master's class of traders, right? Where we discuss live trades and we interact more. And I can really see, and I mean, you're really nicely developing so naturally, right, into higher and higher trader development states, basically. And one of the goals, well, the goal for everybody is actually to develop into an independent trader, right? To have your independent idea. Well, not think about, oh, what would Gabriel think about this pattern? Is it good? Should I take it or not? Right? This is basically getting rid of me and and liberating yourself and developing. What do you think about this concept of independent trader?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because when you first talk about independent trader, I was like, well, why do we want to, right? I'm learning system from you, right? And I remember at the beginning of trading at live market, system in the live market, I am tempted to ask, I said, oh, especially on the longer time frame, well, I have time. I can ask Gabriel, what does he think about this pattern, right? The setup, is it good? Or should I take it or not? But then over time I still value your opinion, your feedback. You still are teachers. I still really value your opinion, and I share in our blog, right? Asking for thoughts and comments. But there's also this, let's call it inner knowing again, right? That I have my own kind of style and way of trading it. I know, there could be cases where you wouldn't take it for the reasons that you wouldn't take it, but I may still choose, right? Wisely to take it based on my parameter and what my thinking are. So I didn't. I was at the beginning. I said, well, I didn't think that's possible, right? I'm learning your system. How can I why do I want to be independent from you? But it naturally happens.
Yeah.
And
Exactly. Yeah. So if you think back now, so that's 8 months when you attended the workshop, right? And now we're 8 months later, and if you compare your level of development you're now with where you have been 8 months before.
Night and day.
Night and day.
Yeah, I would never want to, trade the old way, and it's so much better with the clarity and the confidence, and just like very calmly trade. It's just a good state to be in. And as we said, it just focus on the process, the outcome, like the result will come, right? Focus on building the process, and the good result just naturally will come in.
What do you think? What role played the principles of deep practice we applied all the way? How important was that?
Yeah, it's very important. Trading is learning to trade. It's very complex. I think, the principles that you share with us and kind of the process, you built was very helpful. I don't think I could have gotten such good results in such a short time without that. Yeah.
My experience
at the beginning, I didn't agree. I have to say, right? I have to admit, at the beginning, I didn't always agree with everything. you said, sometimes I can be headstrong, so I want to do things my own way. But there are moments I'll say to myself, Gabriel was right. I should have just listened to him. But trust the process
I
and
like
trust
hearing
Gabriel.
that.
I trust the process and trust Gabriel.
Yeah. Let's talk about connecting the dots. This has been something, I think, during the simulation exercise, right? We were coming up with good number of dots that were not connected. You remember? In your brain.
Yeah, and it's because it's really like a complex. Like there's so many different pieces of the puzzle. I think. Everything from the pattern evaluation itself to all the different time frame, right? And how do you evaluate? And there's always there's no quote unquote perfect setup, right? There's always kind of the pros and cons, and how to put all of that together. It just maybe every day you learn some another golden nugget or something, and you just over time you piece them together. Even today, right? Even today as I'm learning more about kind of trying to become game master in trading the future system, and also I'm learning your forex system as well, right? Even just as I'm learning a different system, right, and your forex system, there are things that come up, like learning that comes up could influence how I'm trading the future system. So it's just all about how to kind of cohesively, right, piece everything together.
Yeah, my coaching style is it's based on dynamic learning. Well, this is what deep practice stands for. It's not trading as well is a dynamic process, right? It's a multidimensional puzzle you have to solve, and this is why I think you can most effectively learn it when you apply a dynamic learning approach such as deep practice, and that means that you're putting out the dots, right, in the brains of the students, basically, the different aha moments, but the dots are not yet connected, right? It's not like this game little kids play where they connect one dot after another, right, with numbers. Well, that would be a linear way of learning, and it would take years, right? So we're basically jumping right into a dynamic and multidimensional space, and learning just happens like a children learns, right? I don't know, riding a bike. It's not in a linear way; it's in a dynamic way. A lot of learning is coming from a different perspective. I think you told me once that you were even recommending your daughter's teacher to apply deliberate practice, right?
Exactly. My daughter is 10 years old. She's a competitive figure skater. She likes figure skating, and she practiced a lot on ice. And once I learned about it's also a complex sport, right? A lot of precision required. So I actually recommended the book Talent Code to her coach, and then I think they are also the coaches also like it. Because they're, for example, when they do their jumps, right, there's how do you spin the body, how to get into your air position, and all of that, how to land each piece, have to, practice individually, and then put them all together.
Yeah. Deep practice is used in sports quite extensively, right? But in trading, well, I haven't heard of this being an important training concept, but I think it can beautifully be applied, right, to such an activity.
Yeah, because actually I think most traders tend to just jump in, right, and then to do everything.
Yeah, well, this is naive
jump
practice.
Into the live market.
This is naive practice. This is a difference between
and not only
where you think if you do the exercise in the live market long enough, well, at some time you will understand it. Well, you will understand, but maybe 10 years later, right? This is not the idea. You actually get much faster to where you want to be if you go step by step, and if you slow down the process, then you will be much faster where you want to be. It's kind of contrary to what one might think, right? But this is the fastest way, and that's when exponential skill growth happens.
Yep, exactly.
And it's quite fun being in this learning environment, no, where one grows.
Yeah, you could because it's very rewarding to see and feel my growth, and because it's almost like light bulbs going off, right? I'm saying, oh, like I forgot, like just yesterday I was checking the blog, you said something, you commented on the pattern and I forgot what it is, but I was like, oh, this is something like, oh, now I understand. This could be a concept that I first picked up or got exposed to like a month ago or something.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what exactly, something about, I forgot. It was, yeah, totally, oh, now I get it, right?
Yeah.
So
for me, some things I can explain like kind of in theory, right? But other things are really difficult to explain, and some things are really easy to explain in practice, like with a practical trade example. And this is why I think the blog where we share trades is a good, really good learning tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then to your point about like doing, you do it in a naive learning way, I think it not only takes longer, right, much longer, and two, it's actually it could be totally counter-effective, right? It damages your psychology, as an example. You jump in and then you have some bad experiences and your psychology is damaged, and you have to kind of unlearn the bad habit,
right?
And then you have to have some charged feelings that you have to work on.
Yeah. Well, it's like learning to play tennis, and you think by playing with somebody else for points, and you will become a great tennis player. Well, no, that's not how you do, right? You train with a coach, and you do the same movements all over again to perfect them. And then you build one technique after the other. Yeah, it's really easy to understand with sports, right? But in trading, most people think it's really easy, and they just go for it.
Exactly. And then like speaking of the analogy, like, I practice martial arts, right? So I would think like you just get into the ring and spar with a black belt, right? When you're just like a white belt, you just get beaten up, right? And then you don't learn anything. You just get hurt. You don't know what you're doing, right? Right. So yeah.
Okay, so you joined my workshop. That was the futures workshop 8 months ago, and then a couple of months later you joined the forex workshop, right? So how much was it easier for you? Like, as you had already gone through like simulations, and you have already built part of your live market process for futures. How easy was it to apply the forex systems?
Yeah, it's definitely like much easier. A lot of the things I had to quote unquote suffer to learn before, I didn't have to do that anymore because it's already gone through that. Like, for example, a lot of the psychological things like FOMO and then the live market process, figure out like my routine and, all of that logistics, of course, is like, and a lot of the psychology things have been taken care of, right, through the process. Like my scanning process, I already know what works. I need to tweak it for Forex, but so a lot of the things that I don't have to redo. I already know how to use a simulator as an example. And and let's see, I already know there's plenty of pattern to go around, for example. And then I don't, that's also a 24-hour market, but there's like, I don't even, it doesn't bother me at all, right? If something, a pattern happens, and I'm totally just taking my time, right, to do it slowly.
And how about the opportunities you get? I mean, are there plenty of opportunities you get for the day? What is your experience?
Yeah, I feel that there's, I trade different time frames. Actually at the beginning I traded the 5-second charts on futures. Just, I like to see things fast, and but now I trade it all like across different time frames. And for the longer time frame trades like 1 hour, 4 hour and above. Most of the time I use options, more than enough. At the beginning I was like, at the beginning, what if I don't get a good pattern today or something? But there's always plenty. I've definitely had experience where, like, by Wednesday I was like, not like no good patterns, like maybe this week is not a good week or something. And then sure enough, like something will show up, but it's just okay. It's really not like, I think it's not about how many patterns that you discover, but it just how ready you are, like how ready I am to take advantage of whatever opportunity shows up,
right?
Like so when I decide to trade.
That's the exact thing that should happen, actually. That the pattern comes to you, not that you are chasing the pattern. Right? Exactly.
Yeah. Right. The good pattern is the one like you don't, it's just so obvious, like I would call it no-brainers.
Mm.
You're so passionate about that to the point that you really don't care how it
Yeah.
turns out. Like
Mm.
passionate and like 100% committed to take the trade, and at the same time, like completely indifferent to the outcome.
Mm. Exactly.
So
Yeah.
that's a
That's a
good setup.
perfect mental state for trading. Yeah.
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 The good thing is like if you've got more patterns or more trade opportunities coming up than you need, you can really be picky on the quality, right? You just let it go, or you might have
Yeah.
some doubt, take it or not, but just let it go. Doesn't matter, right? Because the next thing is
Exactly.
coming up. But
Yeah. Another one is coming
just
up.
take the no regret trades, come on, you call them,
Exactly.
or the high quality trades, and let the average or lower quality trades for the losing traders, right? They show.
Yeah, mediocre. Don't bother with the mediocre trades anymore. And in fact, I actually use a passion score. For every trade that I have a passion score, like how passionate I am about it, like on a score of 1 to 10, like anything 6 and below, so don't even consider, right? So then I actually, like, when I went back to my trading journal and trading log, there is a strong correlation of results to like the 8 and above, right? Passion of 8 and above, and the no-brainer trades. Usually they work out, and even if they don't, it's like psychology, just not like I don't care at all, right? It's oh well, I would have taken it no matter what. So yeah, very easy decision.
Okay, so now you have to develop in a real independent trader. What is coming up for the next month? So what are your plans, or what do you think you will develop into?
So I think, right, I'm just at the beginning of the journey. It's much more pleasant than before. Trading this way in my new way. I think definitely still a lot to learn in terms of just mastering the system. It's almost like kind of like I want to achieve mastery, right, in my trading. Become a better trader from a execution, psychology, and technique standpoint. But I think also equally, probably not, perhaps even more important, is to just continue to work on myself, right? I think psychology is such an important factor in trading that's probably underrated by most traders, unfortunately. Underestimate how important it is, but continue to work on my mental state, working on everything about, so that I'm at a higher consciousness level, a higher level of consciousness. And I think, as I become a better, quote unquote, better person, I'll become a better trader. And the market, trading to me is actually a great tool, a great like classroom where I can quickly find out how well I'm doing on my self-improvement, right, as a person, or my spiritual journey maybe. And it's also a very, like I said, market is a good teacher, right? It will quickly tell me where I need to work on, right? And mistake is a good way to say, oh, okay, made a mistake, what's happening? And you do a kind of a analysis, and then you just most of the time you find out more reason to work on yourself, and then you continue the journey.
I can assure you that trading, you will never cease to learn, right? It's a constant learning process, which is really nice.
Yeah. It's, now I'm working on like, the position size as an example. I'm pretty sure, like, as I increase position size over time, and then new buttons will be pushed, and you just provide more opportunity for me to work on myself. So it's great. It's just So the trading allowed me to really improve myself, and then the profit is kind of icing on the cake in a way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then thank you for your guidance. It was just you're so thorough and meticulous, right? You're very structured. I would say as an instructor and a coach, I think that's how you think, and I really appreciate that. It works very well for me, in a very structured way.
Yeah. Well, you've been a very, very good student, obviously.
Thank you. More to learn.
Yeah. No, I think you have grown tremendously over just a few months, right? Less than a year, and I think you're already a a successful trader trading the live markets. You will become much more successful. Just understand how you're moving into a level of mastery, basically, where you apply intuition, right, to trading, where you can really see that your intuition adds a trader quality to your trades, and then how you develop into an independent trader. And the more independent you become, or the more fun trading is, right? This is the nice thing. And the more relaxed and the more fun, and obviously the more profitable it becomes.
Exactly.
So I'm very grateful to have been able to work with you. And
thank you. I'm very grateful.
I'm looking forward what lies ahead for you. Well, we stay in close contact anyway. But I'm really impressed how you developed over a short period.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your kind words.
Thank you for having joined this Trader Chat. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.